Did you know that Ruben Amorim has inherited Manchester United in an almost similar position that Sir Alex Ferguson did in 1986? Welcome to the United Road Sport. My name is Webb, and in this video, I'm here to give you a proper comparison of Sir Alex Ferguson and Ruben Amorim's first seasons in charge of Manchester United. Like, share, and subscribe, and let's get into it. Now, we do know the current Ruben Amorim and how he's enjoying his time, if he is. It's really a lot of pressure for him. Understandably, he expected it. But from his first interview, you would tell that this man is destined for greatness. In fact, to describe him the best, I would call him a smiling assassin. This guy speaks with a smile on his face to the media, but behind closed doors, he's a no-nonsense disciplinarian, which you love to see. But let me take you back to the most successful manager, not just at Man United. In English football history, many say he's the greatest of all time when you talk about football managers. Sir Alex Ferguson, and how he arrived from his native Scotland, born in Glasgow, to become the greatest man to ever coach the biggest football club in the world. Now, Alex Ferguson joined Man United on the 6th of November in 1986, replacing Ron Atkinson. Now, at the time, Ferguson had made a good profile for himself in Aberdeen. First of all, he had ended the duopoly of Celtic and Rangers back in Scotland, becoming the first manager to the first team, Aberdeen becoming the first team outside Glasgow to win the championship. That was huge back then when he did it with Aberdeen. But his biggest achievement, he won 3 Scottish titles with Aberdeen, but his biggest achievement was winning a European title, beating Real Madrid in the final. So he joined Manchester United as someone who had, made some fair achievements for himself as a young man. But compare him to Ruben Amorim. He hadn't won anything. Besides winning the Portuguese league, there was nothing to talk about in Europe. But with Sporting Lisbon, the two Portuguese championships he won, the Portuguese La Liga titles he had won, were quite something to try and make him match with Sir Alex Ferguson and his first season. But let's get back to Fergie and what he inherited. When he joined Manchester United, Ferguson, United were lying second from the bottom on the league, 21st on the league to be precise. Sir Alex Ferguson was inheriting a team of players who were so bad, not just as players, but in terms of culture. They were fighting a big drinking problem. Can you imagine a football club, an elite football club like Manchester United, having a drinking problem? This was the mess that he was inheriting. And he had to do a lot of work to try and change that. Now, his first game for Manchester United was against Oxford. It was an away game. Man United lost that game by 2-0. In his post-mortem of the game, Ferguson concluded that he needed at least eight new signings because he was in utter shock at how unfit his team were. In fact, he told the then chairman, he wrote this in his first autobiography back in 1996, he told his then chairman, Martin Edwards, that he wanted to sign at least 8 new players, and the chairman was also in shock because Ferguson was in shock at how unfit the squad was. The chairman was in shock at how poor Ferguson felt the players were, and he agreed to support him, but things had to be tough before they became good. You recall what Amorim said, that we shall first have to suffer before things are okay? This is exactly what Sir Alex Ferguson did tell Martin Edwards back then, the then chairman in 1986 when he joined. So the only 2 players, you can look at Man United now and you say maybe there are flashes of, there is Amad Diallo, there is maybe Nusal Mazraoui, you can talk of Ugarte, maybe Kobe. There are some few 4 or 5 young players you look at and say maybe the team can be built on these ones. For Ferguson back then in 1986, he had only 2. One Nomat Whiteside, who he thought was so fit, he was the only fit player in the team, and Brian Robson, who for him, Ferguson in his own words said he was a wealth of commitment. He had never seen a player so committed. No wonder he went on to become Manchester United's longest serving captain. Now, going back to Fergie's era and what exactly he did. So his first season, struggles, loses a couple of games but manages to inspire this team to finish 11th in his first season in charge from 21st position. You recall when he inherited the team from Ron Atkinson. In that season, the only big highlight perhaps of the game was their 1-0 away win against Liverpool. That was their only away win of that season. In fact, it was Liverpool's only home loss of the season. Liverpool was a hot team at the time, but Ferguson was determined to make it work. Now, it wasn't easy. You might think coming and inheriting a team that is second from the bottom and going on to finish 11th means things are okay. Well, maybe they seemed, but his second season in charge looked good. He signed Viv Anderson from Arsenal and Brian McClare from Celtic. Those are the two signings he made. The first signings he made for Man United. His first full season, that's the second season you would say, but first full season, Manchester United finishes second in the league. It looked United is back, only for things to turn bad and sour because his third season, 1989, was so terrible. People were calling for his head. In fact, people were saying 3 seasons of excuses and what, but one thing stood out. Sir Alex Ferguson had the backing of the board and the team that hired him because they knew the work he was doing inside, because he had to change the culture, set new standards at the club. In fact, it is said Sir Alex Ferguson took 6 years to change the culture at Manchester United. It took him 6 years for Manchester United to feel firm and feel like, yes, the culture is new now. But these were 6 years of toiling and fighting between the fans who wanted him out and the board and the chairman and the CEOs of the team who were backing him fully and knowing that he was going to be the guy who would do things right. Now, the other key similarity, and this was the biggest turning point, which came later in the early 90s, the class of 92. Sir Alex Ferguson says, we've set the foundations, the structure, just like Ruben Amorim is trying to work with Ineos to set the foundation, clean out the team, let go of players who have got the wrong attitude, the Marcus Rashfords of this world, who are not performing in terms of character, but also performances on the pitch at the level of Man United. The way Sir Alex Ferguson was fighting a drinking culture, which is an off-the-pitch issue, this man is fighting players with the wrong attitude, off-the-pitch issues like drinking Belfast benders for Rashford. You see the disciplinarian in both. So, Ruben Amorim is now also working with Ineos to set a new culture, to set new standards on and off the pitch as he tries to compete on the pitch. But what back then in 86, Martin Edwards and his board did was not to consider what the fans say and the results on the pitch to judge Sir Alex Ferguson, but to see what he's doing around the culture and the structure of the team, which was the bigger problem, the rot that he needed to fix with the team. And for as long as they were impressed with what Sir Alex Ferguson was doing in terms of changing the culture, they knew it was only going to be a matter of time, that if they backed him, the results would come. This is exactly what Ineos needs to do with Ruben Amorim. As Manchester United tries to fight its way back, we do know the ship had sunk too deep, that it cannot just be about results. For the results to happen, a lot has got to change in terms of the culture. And that's why this player power that we've been talking about has got to be clamped on. Amorim is at it. He needs the backing. But in the meantime, it's the same players he's working with. He can try and push them to get the best out of them, but he has got to be given the time to rebuild the team. And when this is done, it may not take 6 years because he doesn't have that time. Even in his contract, it's not there. And in the modern game, he won't be given that time, definitely. But for as long as he's showing positives, with the recruitment that United has already done and more that they're doing in terms of the youngsters, Amorim will have his class of Ruben Amorim. Maybe that's what we would call it. Sir Alex Ferguson's class of 92 was the foundation of the proper new Man United, the face of the new Man United. After these so many years of him fixing the structures, he has a class of 92 where he resorted to the youngsters, the natives, the youngins, to come in there and inspire a new generation of stars. And guess what? A few years later, they win Manchester United's first and only treble, becoming perhaps the greatest club in modern era for their manager Sir Alex Ferguson to earn a knighthood 13 years after he joined Man United from a little-known Aberdeen in Scotland. Listen, guys, I do know the start is always difficult. Ruben Amorim is facing it rough at Man United, understandably. It was never going to be an easy job, especially for a guy to come from Portugal. He's 39 years of age, almost the same age as Sir Alex Ferguson when he joined. But look, guys, it always takes time. But the most important thing is for you to believe in the project, see the positives in what they're doing, give it time, and trust you me, when Ruben Amorim starts on his young players, his class of Ruben Amorim, the way Ferguson had the Gary Nevilles, Phil Nevilles, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, David Beckhams and the likes. Trust me, when Ruben Amorim cleans this squad and gets his time with the Sekou Okonis, the Kobe Mainos, the Amad Diallos, the Luscelles of this world, all the Lenny Yoros, all these young kids that Man United has got lurking around the senior team, trust you me, if we give him the full backing, there will be smiles on our faces. There is light at the end of the tunnel. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. Take heart. United will be back.